senior judges have confirmed the protesters do not gain a free pass to cause criminal damage on the basis of the belief that their victims support their cause. Now, judges have ruled that political beliefs and other motivations for protest are too remote to be a lawful excuse, whereas the time, place and extent of the damage and the fact that it occurred during a protest could be circumstances for a line of defence. Well, to make sense of that and to pick over it, joining me now in the studio is human rights campaign and activist Peter Tatchell. Peter, welcome to the studio. Always a pleasure to have you on the channel. What this ruling is trying to say, for example, if you believe that Colston was a slave driver and you decide to pull down the statue, that's not OK. Except, Peter, that's not what happened in the court of law. So at present, your political stance, in a sense, can get you off.
Mm. Well, I think normally I would be opposed to any form of criminal damage. That's not the right way to do politics. But there may be some very limited circumstances where it may be morally justified. So, for example, some years ago, a group of protesters damaged UK airplanes that were destined to be sent to Indonesia to bomb the people of East Timor and West Papua. And they were acquitted because the jury ruled that the higher cause of international law and human rights overrode the damage they caused. And I think that was the right judgment. Equally, if a big industrial plant is polluting a local community, causing damage, particularly to young kids' health, if they won't listen to reason, if they won't stop, then I think doing damage to that industrial plant to save children's health may be morally justified.
But that law says none of that is justifiable, this new law, except, Peter, we still see too much ambiguity, too many grey areas, for example, around things like clambering on war memorials or spraying racist on the Winston Churchill statue just outside there at Parliament Square. They're not just statues, are they? They aren't just things. They have a resonance, and maybe that's why they're targeted. And so, therefore, maybe this new ruling is long overdue. It should take political views, excuses away, and should it go further and take those views into account? If you specifically target something because you know it will cause extreme offence, like Churchill, like the cenotaph, maybe that should be its own special offence.
Well, I think you're right that people have to be very careful about how they protest. The methods they use, that has to be really carefully calibrated. And, doing something that's going to be grossly offensive is not only putting them in the firing line, but it's actually going to be counterproductive because people won't listen to their point of view if they do outrageous things like desecrating war memorials. That's wrong. Yeah. But, and here's the big but, I think it is right that people's intention and motives are taken into consideration. Gandhi and Martin Luther King both committed peaceful, non-violent acts, as have I, entirely peaceful and non-violently, but against the law. And like them, I was always willing to take the consequences. I believed about something so strongly that I was prepared to get arrested, get convicted, and if necessary, go to prison.
To make your point, Now we're seeing on screen there, Peter, images of Just Stop Oil protesters slashing up paintings, smashing glass. We saw them chiselling the fronts of banks in the city, causing huge amounts of financial and criminal damage. They got away with it for a long time, but then they clamped down. And guess what? The Just Stop Oil protests basically just got stopped when the law came down. So clearly, there is public appetite to clamp down on this kind of stuff.
Well, not too sure exactly what the public think, because I think a lot of people would object.
Well, Just Stop Oil have surely lost the room.
But just think about this. NASA's projections on climate destruction suggest that by about 2050, or maybe even a bit earlier, large parts of London will flood due to sea level rises and storm surges.
That's a separate point. The point we're talking about here is, irrespective of what you may believe, irrespective of the cause, the outcomes, this new rule says it's not cricket to go around vandalising things because you want to make a political point. That's what this is saying.
Yeah, I accept that's what they're saying, but I'm questioning whether it is the right judgment, because large parts of most of East London and South London are going to be regularly underwater. People are going to lose their homes, their jobs,
that's a doomsday scenario. And they've been saying, don't forget, in the 1970s, there was going to be a constant ice age.
Yeah, well, I sort of respect NASA. They're a pretty respected, scientific grounded institution. They are warning that we need to take action, otherwise these could be the consequences. And other British cities are going to follow similar problems.
So back to Just Stop Oil, because that's tangible, people can get that. Do you think it's acceptable to smash up paintings, slash up paintings of former prime ministers because you think fossil fuels are a bad thing, or is this rule right? That should stop.
Well, I wouldn't do it. But I hark back to the suffragettes. The suffragettes are held as heroes now, but they did all of those things,
well,
and they're lauded today. Now, you know, what we think now is wrong may, in hindsight, not be seen as so wrong, given the positive changes that some forms of protest have achieved. And I'd say this, you know, yes, under no circumstances does anyone do criminal damage willfully or negligently without good, really strong reasons. But if you do it, you have to be prepared to take the consequences, which I've always done in my protest. When I've broken the law, I've said, OK, I've broken the law, I'm prepared to go to prison.
Good. OK, well, thanks for coming in.